Coming up on today's show, we're going to run through the latest news and details surrounding the Kirk Cousins tampering case, as Arthur Blank was asked about this at the NFL owners meeting, and, well, he gave his very candid response. But we'll unpack everything we know so far about the tampering allegations. So let's jump right into it with Arthur Blank speaking to the media today, being asked about the tampering, and he said, "The tampering deal, we obviously don't believe we tampered. And we shared all the information with the league. And they'll review the process and the facts, and they are in the middle of doing that. And whatever the result is, we'll deal with it." That is the biggest, we're guilty. I just don't want to say it right now. I mean, he's not even really trying to hide we did this, right? He says, we don't believe we did it. He's not even like all that certain, it sounds like, right? It's a little bit like asking your 5-year-old, did you do this? And like, I don't think I did. What? You either know if you did or you didn't. It's very simple. Did Kirk Cousins speak himself with anyone on the Falcons coaching staff before Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern when the new league year started? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to answer that question. If he spoke with Raheem Morris on Tuesday, then you did it. And the fact that Arthur Blank is saying, we don't believe we did, this isn't a case that requires an extensive, lawyer and jury. It just comes down to phone records and just camera logs of, does Kirk Cousins come into the facility for a medical checkup on Monday or Tuesday? Well, then, yeah, you did it. So then the question becomes how much trouble you in, which we'll get to later on. But here's what really did Atlanta in. Kirk Cousins, when having his introductory press conference, said, when you get here and you look around, you think, boy, there's great people here. And it's not just the football team. I mean, I'm looking at the support staff, meeting, calling yesterday, calling our head athletic trainer, and talking to our head of PR. I'm thinking, we've got good people here. You can't say that, Kirk. You can't say you talked to someone yesterday when you are not allowed to speak with anyone with the team before the beginning of the new league year. So that right there prompted the investigation of Kirk Cousins kind of slipped up and let the cat out of the bag. And that's not even, I wouldn't say the worst of it, but the last of it. So the other Myles Garrett, who, is a local TV reporter covering the team, tweeted out, Kirk Cousins said he recruited Darnell Mooney to the Falcons. You cannot recruit players to a team you are not on yet. So if all this is true, which, I understand that you probably don't want to believe it's true. So there's probably some wishful thinking going on as you're watching this right now. But to me, I've got Arthur Blank saying, we don't believe we did. I've got Kirk Cousins admitting he talked to the head trainer, which he later said, not talked to, but, earlier today, he kind of tried to cover it up, but he already said it. And then I've got Cousins saying he recruited Darnell Mooney to the Falcons. I just think Atlanta did not properly brief Kirk Cousins on, so he sort of broke the rules, mum's the word, and don't mention it when speaking to the media, which he didn't do. So it is heads down, stay down, and brace for impact time. The only slimmer of hope I've got for the Falcons not getting bent over is Rich McKay. Of course, that is Arthur Blank's right-hand man, and he is also the chairman of the NFL Rules Committee, which has been in the news all day long. So maybe Rich McKay, who is high up in the league committees, could just water down the punishment a little bit. That's kind of like the Hail Mary, keep your fingers crossed. I don't think this is going to be as bad as the Miami Dolphins, which leads me to this question here. How much trouble are we talking? The Miami Dolphins got in big tampering trouble a few years ago. That led to them losing their first-round pick, most notably. I don't think it's as bad as that. But I do think there is likely a punishment coming for Atlanta. And we'll talk about what that punishment could be in just a moment. But today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Spring is here, which means we have Braves baseball to watch, along with playoff basketball, March Madness, and hockey playoffs. And you shouldn't have to miss any of the action because of ticket prices. With Game Time, you can get killer last-minute deals and all-in prices for all the big events you want to go to. Now, what I love about Game Time is they give you a view from your seat before you purchase your tickets, so there are no surprises when you show up. Plus, hidden fees suck, but Game Time gives you an all-in price option, so you really know how much the tickets are going to cost. It's the best place to find last-minute seats. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. If you're trying to catch a game, concert, or any other event in your local area, download Game Time today and use that code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHAT, C-H-A-T, SPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. So let's go back in time for a little bit here to look for some precedent when it comes to what kind of trouble do you get in for tampering. The Miami Dolphins are the most recent and relevant case. They were punished after their failed attempts, by the way, to get Tom Brady and Sean Payton. Now, they were a lot worse and much more egregious than what the Falcons did, which was just move some of the deadlines up by 24, 48 hours and talk to Kirk Cousins a few days before they were supposed to. The Dolphins were doing this years in advance, okay? But here were their punishments. They lost their first-round pick in 2023. They lost a third-round pick this year. Owner Stephen Ross was suspended, and he got a $1.5 million fine. Back then, Roger Goodell had this to say on it. The investigators found tampering violations of unprecedented scope and severity. I know of no prior instance of a team violating the prohibition on tampering with both a head coach and star player to the potential deterrent of multiple other clubs over a period of several years. Similarly, I know of no prior instance in which ownership was so directly involved in the violations. So don't look at what happened at the Dolphins and be afraid the same thing's going to happen to the Falcons, right? The Dolphins were doing this years in advance, and we'll look at that in just a second here, talking to a coach and a player, when I think the biggest crime the Falcons committed was they brought in Kirk Cousins a day, 2, maybe max 3 days. Kirk Cousins was driving from Michigan to Georgia, coincidentally, to go to his in-laws' house 2 days before he signed on Wednesday. So he really couldn't have been there much earlier than that, which is why I'm not overly concerned about a huge punishment coming down, because they didn't do nearly as much stuff, allegedly, of course, allegedly, as the Dolphins did, right? Go back to this USA Today article when the news broke in 2019 saying, or back in 2022, the investigation found that Miami had impermissible contact with Brady dating to August of 2019 while he was still under contract with the New England Patriots. The contact continued throughout the 2019 season and into the postseason, investigators found. So, the Atlanta Falcons were not talking, as far as we all know, to Kirk Cousins back in 2023, September, October. I think they are guilty of maybe 48 to 72 hours of tampering, not months and years of tampering to 2 star players. We're not going to act like Kirk Cousins is at the same level as Tom Brady, right? He's definitely a great quarterback, but he's not Brady, and they didn't go after a head coach as well. So I'm confident that it's not going to be nearly as bad as the Dolphins. If I had to predict it, and this is just kind of throwing something at the wall, $1 million fine, right? Stephen Ross got 1.5, so knock it down a little bit, but they definitely want to, warn other teams not to mess around, and a round 3 pick. I don't think you're going to see a first rounder go. It's just the 2 punishments should not have the same crime. The 2 crimes should not have the same punishment. And one was way, way worse than the other. So $1 million, I don't care about Arthur Blank's money, and a 3rd round pick, fine. Keep your first, keep your second. You got 2/3 this year anyway. You're not going to set yourself back by forfeiting a 3rd. And Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot are going to learn a very expensive lesson to at least be better at covering their tracks, because that's what the rest of the league does. And they kind of slipped up on this one. So with that all being said, if you guys remember last week, we had a fun little discourse about what could some punishments be if the Falcons pass on Dallas Turner, who I have claimed to be a Falcon. His wings are already growing. He'll be flying soon. Well, after narrowing down the options you guys came up with, these were the top 3 ones commented on our last video. A drunk episode. We're doing drunk history trace. Clown suit. That does seem appropriate. And then 3 shots for saying Bill Belichick, Justin Fields, and then Dallas Turner are all Falcons. So let me know of those 3 which one you like the most. All right, that will do it for us on this edition of Falcons Today. Once again, always appreciate those of you that watch all the way to the end of the video. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and do so today.